In the Bible, it says, no misery is worth complaining about. That is a true statement. Not only because it's spoken from the Bible, but because no misery is worth complaining about. The reason I believe that's true is because when you have misery, when you have suffering, when you have problems, when you have pain, you can choose to view it as a thing that's wrong, or you can choose to view it as the way the world is. And that is more powerful. You can choose to view it as an opportunity to grow, and that is more useful. And you can choose to see it for what it truly is, which is a signal that tells you you're still breathing, you're still alive and kicking and moving and able. And the reason is that the only people that do not have problems are the people who are buried 6 feet under the ground. So no misery is worth complaining about because one, if you have problems, it means you're alive. And for that reason, you should be grateful for the opportunity to change, to grow, to become greater for you and your people. And on top of that, no misery is worth complaining about because if you don't complain about it, it does not truly exist in the same way. And what I mean by this is if you don't complain about problems, you don't make them real. If you don't call them out, you don't make them real. They're just the way life is. And the faster you accept that reality is the faster you can start to deal with the way life is. You can deal with the problem and you can create solutions. Your mind can create solutions to any problem, usually multiple solutions to any problem. And then with action, you can solve that problem, any of them, either with the right person or the right skill or the right new knowledge and the right new action. So find problems, consistently identify problems. My favorite way to find problems, by the way, to solve, to become greater, is to set goals. When you set goals, your mind realizes, I want this thing. There's these things blocking me, stopping me from having that thing right now, that goal. And those are called problems. And when you can clearly identify problems, they become extremely easy to solve. If you want to be able to move quickly through problems, you must, one, accept that they're real, accept that they're issues. Decide to call them problems. If you never call something a problem and acknowledge it as that, you'll never solve it because your mind has nothing to solve. It just sees it as good, fine. So call a thing a problem. If you're lacking discipline, call it a problem. If you're lacking habits, call it a problem. If you're wasting time too much, call it a problem. If your friend circle is not empowering you, call it a problem. Then your mind will decide, okay, if it's a problem for me, I need to create solutions. Those ideas that come to you is what you're going to need to go act on. So that's the second step. Go act on them. Go run the scientific method. It's very simple. Okay? Set a goal. You're going to find problems. With those problems, you're going to hypothesize. This is the scientific method. Hypothesize of how you could go solve it. Guess. Okay? Go take action. It's called testing. Then you're going to get data, feedback. And with that feedback, you're either going to notice you succeeded or you did not succeed. But with that feedback, you're going to be able to iterate, become better for the next rep, and you're going to do it again. Okay? Hypothesis, test, feedback, iterate. Hypothesis, test, feedback, iterate. Over and over and over until you achieve your goals, until you solve your problems. It's fancy trial and error. Okay? So no misery is worth complaining about. Never has a truer quote been spoken. Use that to your advantage. Become the person who does not see misery as a thing to complain about. Become the person who has a positive attitude and high energy towards any problem in life. You will attract other positive people who want to solve problems. You will repel negative people who don't. And on the other side, if you're a negative person with low energy and a bad attitude, you will repel positive people who want to solve problems and you'll attract negative people who don't. So make sure you're cultivating high energy, cultivating a positive attitude, and not complaining about misery, but deciding that you're grateful for it, for the opportunity to change and push through it, and then go do exactly that. Take action, lean into it, and become greater day after day after day. If you're hoping for a life without problems, you're hoping for a life that does not exist. If you're hoping for a life that does not have problems, you're hoping that you don't exist. The last thing I want you to realize is that life is like a violin string. If you take on risk, you take on building businesses, you take on building yourself, you take on building relationships that are deep connections, not just, hookup culture or whatever people call it. If you take on the harder things in life, you get higher highs, but you also get lower lows. The risk, the suffering, the boredom, it's painful, but you get higher highs. Most people kind of live a mundane life somewhere in the middle. Their happiness, their contentment is just barely that because they don't go to the gym, they don't work on themselves, they don't work on their body, they don't work on businesses, they don't build good relationships. And so their high highs are just content, they're normal. But then their low lows are very tolerable compared to yours. Most people can't handle the stress, and it's not a human intelligence problem, it's a human mindset problem. If you build your mindset, you'll become stronger and you'll be able to take on and endure longer, more pain, more suffering, more risk. And your highs will be much higher. So build your mindset, develop yourself into someone who sees problems as opportunities to change and grow, and then find problems by setting goals and lean into them consistently. Become a greater person for yourself and the people in your life. That's all, my friend. Please have a great day.